I love that I say every week the news isn't going to break itself, as though we've ever broken a piece of news in our entire life. I mean, Shannon has, not us. Shannon's an actual
that's
journalist.
true.
Did you
just broke the news that we changed the game club.
Yeah, that's true. Not even that. I posted that in Discord a couple of hours ago.
I feel like, and I broke it. I think, yeah.
Yeah, technically Shannon broke it. That I didn't like it. Oh god,
scoops everywhere.
Pipped at the post. The backup is presented by one of our top Stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, whoever decided to gate boast the cool abilities in Dying Light 2 behind 20 hours of playtime. That person hates fun. I'm sorry, I mean Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boy down in the chat, because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup, and he hopes you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provides regular breakfast to more than 1,000. Why do I say 1,000 every time? It's so much more than that. It's literally 100. It's 100 times more than that. It's 132,000 students at schools around the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 children seek food relief from their charities every month. Donate at foodbank.org.au and head to tasteofmultifish.com for more information about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. Okay, the backup is where we look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of the backup, where we look at the biggest stories of the week. Shannon, you are our guest. Can you please start us off with what made you back up this week and say, hey, that's a pretty big story?
Yes. So I can't remember what day it was, but I woke up, and as these things do, my phone just lit up with 15 to 20 people telling me that PlayStation announced that Bungie would be joining the PlayStation family to the tune of $3.6 billion. So yeah, I think we don't really know what this means, but I guess PlayStation obviously want Bungie for their tech. Destiny, they want to use Destiny to roll it out to other entertainment platforms. And yeah, I feel like every second day now we're waking up to acquisition news. But this was one that we knew Bungie was going to be acquired by someone, right? Like, I don't know if we knew it was going to be PlayStation, but that's what's happened, and that's how it's shaken out.
It actually surprised me because, of all the companies, Bungie prides itself on being this, at least in the past few years, has prided itself on being this independent entity, and did as well once they split off from Microsoft after Halo Reach, became an independent studio and made Destiny, were acquired by Activision, apparently had a horrible time, split off from Activision, and were like, we're free again, and have now been acquired again by a big parent company. So for me, I didn't necessarily expect that they would want to jump into bed with another big company again, but it seems like they've learned from being owned by two other companies in the past and have kind of built an acquisition structure that suits them. They claim that it's not really going to affect creative in any way. And it's really just a resource boon for Bungie. It's not going to limit the platforms that the game is on, according to Bungie. And according to Sony at this time. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I mean, why would you stop Bungie, there's 1 million players a month or something like that, from being on as many platforms as you could to get the best out of your investment?
I feel like people would absolutely riot as well if they took all of those skins and whatever else you get in Destiny off those platforms. Yeah. I can't even imagine what that would look like.
Totally.
I think, for me, I had expected them to be acquired, because I think that I look at Destiny and I just go, I'm playing Destiny at the moment, almost literally right now. I wish I was playing it right now. But it's one of those games where it's a unicorn. So many people chase the Destiny dream. So many developers, or probably publishers more than developers, are trying to make the Destiny. But no one really manages it. There's no other game really like Destiny.
You could argue that Destiny hasn't managed it either, but somehow still succeeds.
And that's my point. That when they announced Destiny, they were like, we've got a 10-year roadmap of what we're going to do, a 10-year plan, not even necessarily a roadmap. We're 8 years into that, and it kind of has come true. But at the same time, it just feels like one of those games that's just hanging on by the skin of its teeth. It's constantly reinventing itself. At the moment, it's shelving content because the game's getting too unwieldy. It puts out these huge expansions that would be so expensive and so massive to make. And I think it's also a game that lots of people are playing, but it's not WoW or something. It's not like Final Fantasy 14, where it is just making money hand over fist. I think so. I reckon it was like, get away from Activision because they're strangling Bungie, and then try to do it by yourself. And then Sony may have come in with an offer where they're just like, well, we got to take this, because I'm sure they've been fielding offers for a while. But by the same token, I think they also potentially went with Sony because, like you were saying, you don't want to come in and massively change Destiny, because like if you look at it too much, it might fall apart. But I think that what might have been appealing about the Sony acquisition for Bungie is that Sony are really looking for Bungie minds to help Sony, as much as Bungie is looking for the financial stability of someone much bigger than them to be able to like back up their product and help them make the other games that they're working on. Because Sony have 0 live service games, really.
Yeah.
Like, and every time they dip their toe into the like multiplayer waters, it's like what first party Uncharted? There's a Last of Us multiplayer coming. Killzone.
Destruction All Stars. You're not still playing that live service multiplayer game.
Destruction All Stars being the current one. Like, that's what the $3.6 billion was like. We can't have another Destruction All Stars. So, I think that we'll be seeing Bungie minds helping Sony with this plan, because Shannon, the other thing that you would have seen this week is that PlayStation are saying that they plan to launch more than 10 live service games before 2026.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, they're like Destiny, correct me if I'm wrong, but like were one of the OG like live service games in this sort of era of live service games. And I think it's to be commended that they've managed to keep Destiny going and succeeding like without a major publisher in the last few years. So obviously Sony has recognized that and seen that there's something here that they can take and apply to other franchises like Uncharted, The Last of Us, Horizon, whatever else they're working on. I think they desperately needed someone like Bungie to roll that out for sure.
Did you guys see the thing as well that apparently Bungie were looking
Stadia?
at making a streaming platform? Yeah. Like working with basically like Stadia. What, Pete, was it like Stadia Tech?
So obviously another news story that happened this week was basically the announcement of the fall of Stadia. Though people at Stadia will still not admit it, but there was a shareholder meeting. I believe it was a shareholder meeting where it was discussed that they're basically rolling back the concept of Stadia. Google are rolling back the concept of Stadia to be a stream support service. The technology that they built is solid. It's just that the platform was not worth investing in from a gaming perspective, standpoint. So no one did. But Destiny 2 was on Stadia, I think, from day one. And
it was like one of their big launch things.
So part of that process was that technology was brought in-house in a way for Bungie in order to work with it and make sure it was working as good as possible. And that was enough for them to go like, hey, this is interesting tech, and maybe we should be trying to utilize this in other ways. There was it was Paul Tassi, I think, was suggesting that potentially they were trying to buy into the tech, and Bungie becomes a studio that become that support service for other studios on how to use this kind of live streaming tech. And the other thing that they were talking about was potentially, because Bungie's quite a big studio, utilizing that technology for internal use, because everyone's working remotely and there's so many employees and everyone's working remotely that potentially having some proprietary tech to run your business with built on Google Stadia was a plan. But we don't know exactly what happened, but it seems like Stadia is definitely taking a step down, and that tech was there it was in conversation for the taking. Yeah. So, Shannon, are you feeling positive about the future of Destiny after this acquisition? And is this like a signal that Sony are looking to take things more seriously when it comes to developing long-term IP, I suppose, rather than just the sort of third-person action stuff that we so commonly think about Sony?
Yeah, definitely. I can't say I'm like the biggest Destiny player. Like I played a lot of the first one, but never really touched a lot of 2, just because I don't have that sort of time to sink into a game like that. But I think it'd be good for Bungie and Destiny. I think even though I touched on the fact that they've clearly done well being independent. Like you can't match the stability of being under a brand like PlayStation or Xbox, right? So like the ability to do new things with Destiny. Like why couldn't Sony potentially do like a more single player story focused Destiny game? Or there's so much you could do with that world. People clearly love it, whether it be movies, TV shows, other games. Like I definitely think it's positive for both PlayStation for the reasons we've touched on, and I think Bungie as well. Obviously, this was in the works before Xbox announced they're acquiring Activision. But do you think that would have steered Bungie away from going back under that umbrella? I don't know. Maybe
I think there's something. There's still it's still too fresh to get back with the X. I think like there's still too many employees at Bungie that lived that era that wouldn't necessarily want to go back to it. I think Microsoft's gaming. I mean, Microsoft gaming is a thing now. I think it would be a very different ecosystem to step back into. It was such a young Microsoft video game business back then. So I think it would be completely different. But it's still a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth, probably. I mean,
think so.
They'd technically be getting back with two X's because it would be
Activision as well.
Microsoft. Just like, what the hell is going on? I did see in the chat that Silent Cloud said, wasn't there something about film or TV coming out of this deal as well? There was that Bungie came out and said that they're excited to work with Sony to turn the IP of Destiny into the thing, like a multimedia juggernaut that they all believe it can be. So I'm sure we'll see more of that. And then the final thing I just wanted to touch on with this is that because I think that, this deal was obviously in the works. You don't turn a deal like this around that fast before the Activision thing, but it was probably the Bethesda ZeniMax acquisition with Xbox that was like, Sony were like, we're going to do something, which may have been when that started. But I did see that the devs at Destiny 2, part of this deal, $1.2 billion from this deal, is to just ensure that employees stay at Bungie, which I think is a very telling sign. I'm sure, I know a lot of this stuff is built into deals when it comes to like the head people of companies of like, when you get acquired, you can't leave for 3 to 5 years and you can't work on a competing product, blah, blah, blah. But $1.2 billion is so much money for what it sounds like so many people. I think that Sony are like, you can't leave because no one knows how you're doing this. So keep doing it. And also, we need you to help us make these 10 fucking games.
That lends, I think, the most credence to the idea that they've invested in Bungie for the people and for the knowledge base of Bungie, because they want to retain that knowledge base. It's not the IP of Destiny that they're interested in. It's what that studio can accomplish.
Totally.
And there's so much collaboration within PlayStation Studios. Like you can just tell that they all work with each other to help out. So I really feel like Bungie,
because they're all the same third-person action game.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's 12 months. In 12 months' time, Destiny's director is going to be Neil Druckmann. It's just going to be heartbreaking betrayals at every turn. All right, cool. Yeah, so we're probably not going to feel the ramifications of what this is for a few years, like really. But I think this is one of those acquisitions where it's like, this feels like potentially good news for everyone. Bungie wins, Sony wins, and they're probably not going to touch the games on the other platforms. So everyone just gets more Destiny and more video games. Moving on to another win, Pete. And this one's just about one lucky guy. Not lucky, talented and great timing.
Talented, great time. Luck is involved in everything. But yes, Josh Wardle, the creator of Wordle, has managed to sell to the New York Times. The game that took the world by storm, Wordle, will be going to the New York Times. It was a 7-figure purchase. So that's a pretty good innings for quite a simple browser game. But obviously it's got the hooks. So the New York Times are going to take over Wordle. This is from Josh Wardle himself. He said, New York Times are going to take over Wordle going forward. If you follow along with the story of Wordle, you know the New York Times games play a big part in its origins, and so this step feels natural to me. I've long admired New York Times' approach to the games in the respective way. Yeah, that's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. I'll skip that paragraph. It sounds like bullshit. When the game moves to the New York Times site, it will be free to play for everyone. So that was the kind of thing that everyone was worried about, right? This is a thing that people have been playing for free on their browsers or on their phones since it kind of garnered traction. It's not like a super original game. It's, for those who are unaware, and here's the great announcement that New York Times made, you get 6 chances a day to guess a 5-letter word, and the letters that you get correct in a word noted, and then you move forward through the 6 guesses in order to try and deduce. It's a process of elimination to deduce what the word for the day is. There have been similar games in the past, but the thing that made this really brilliant was the idea of it being that everyone's playing the same word on the same day, and the shareability of those emotes on Twitter, I think, is what really made it blow up. I'm still playing it. I would play it if there were banner ads on it. Mm-hmm. I will play it once it's on New York Times for free. New York Times have not committed to it being free forever, but part of what New York Times is doing in acquiring games is trying to bolster the idea of getting a subscription service to the New York Times, because you get cool games and you get access to their articles and that kind of thing. I don't know that my generation and below are interested in subscribing to a news service like the New York Times. And I don't think that buying games like this is going to sway that. But if they can make back their 7 figures just on ad revenue on leaving this website basically untouched, I think that's probably a win.
Well, there's also, because the New York Times games is actually a separate subscription as well.
Is it a separate subscription?
Wow. Yeah, it's an additive thing. So I subscribe to it because the New York Times crossword has its problems, but is very good. It's only I nearly said $150 a week. It's not that. It's $1.50 a week. And the crossword is good, but Spelling Bee is the same story. Spelling Bee was like a thing that got acquired by New York Times as well, and that's a similar sort of like puzzle letter game. The New York Times games thing is a good website to just, it is Wordle. It is like, I have this tab on my browser and I just go to it and I do that stuff in between meetings or something. I think the New York Times said that it would be initially free, whereas Wordle was like, it's going to be free. I trust the person who now owns it and not the guy who sold it. So I reckon that it eventually will go behind that paywall. But like you said, if they just put a banner around on it. But it's such a great story. Like $1 million for this game he made. Shannon, I think he made it as
the story being for his girlfriend. Yeah.
Girlfriend?
Yeah, that's super cool. I can tell you right now, I didn't get $1 million suppressed start, so very jealous in that regard.
That's true.
No, I saw so many people hating on this poor guy, and like, I think, did he say there was like 1 million people a day accessing it? Whatever it is, like, it would be a significant upkeep, like keeping this going every day without crashing and new bugs that appear on new devices. Like, why should this guy dedicate his life to keeping this going for free when someone presents $1 million or
at least $1 million
to him? Yeah, at least $1 million to him.
Yeah, totally. I would never like.
You walk away.
if someone said to me like, "We'll give you $1 million because we're going to turn your house into some sort of massive weapon that kills people," then I would go, "Oh, I don't know if that's what I'm going to do." But if someone said, if someone said, "I'm going to give you $1 million to own the web page that you made," I would be like, in a heartbeat, take it, please take it. Life-changing money. The guy, it's such a win, and I'm really happy for him. And if people are unhappy with it, then I don't know. You don't have to play the fucking game.
I don't think this is the kind of thing that's going to keep growing over time. I feel like it's probably already hit its peak in its losing.
Dude. Talk
audience,
about timing. Talk about the perfect cash out time. Like,
exactly.
Just before it goes down. He could not have gotten more money for it. Jimmy Fallon played it on The Tonight Show like 3 weeks ago. I feel like as soon as it's there, that's what the next day the New York Times are calling.
Jimmy Fallon kills everything.
I have to fucking sell right now because this is just, it's now going.
NFTs will die because of Jimmy Fallon.
Because of that
thing with Paris Hilton
thing, yeah.
And like you said, Nick, like, it's not a unique idea. I think it's like a flash in a pan type thing that everyone was playing at once. Like, and I think he's done so well to not only build this audience, but then cash out on it. And I don't know. I guess the other way of looking at it with the New York Times is like, will they just use this as a way to get people into their subscription service? Like, I guess at some point they'll weigh up, will we make more money by paywalling this and losing 80% of our people, but we'll still make this much from 20%? Or will we keep it as like a gateway into the rest of our games? Like, can you see people playing this and then maybe jumping onto their other...
Oh, totally. Because I think that the other games, like there's the crossword, like the crossword isn't entirely different. Like if you like crosswords, you're already doing crosswords. But there's the spelling bee thing is really good. There's a few other games in there. And there's also a mini crossword, which is just like, it's like 8 questions. And it is one of those things where like you can smash it out in literally a minute, kind of like Wordle. And I think that if they're going, there are other sort of like brain tingly puzzle games that we've got. Come spend $1.50 Australian and you get access to it, then I think that's a pretty easy sell. So yeah, good on him. It's a win. It's a win for Josh Wardle.
It is.
I can't believe so many people in the world know the name Josh Wardle just because he loves his girlfriend. I think that's so sweet. God, I got to build something for my partner. And then the opposite end of this, for people who have been spending a fortune on something and rarely getting anything substantial in return. Star Citizen, a video game that has been in development, I don't even remember how long.
I think 2010 or something, maybe even earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was 12 years, which is just
12 BC.
Yeah. So this is a game that has just raised so much money through crowdfunding and has yet to release a final finished product. They've got $400 million and they're still tinkering. But they upset a lot of their fans last week when they put out a post. So beforehand, they had a few months ago, I think it was about 6 months ago or something, they put out this 6 quarters, sorry. They put out this public roadmap of going, this is what we're working on, and this is what we're going to be doing in the future. So that the people who had backed, who had supported with their money and were working this sort of like essentially not even early access, but like really in development product, could see what was happening with Star Citizen. And the devs have now come out and said that they're not going to do that anymore because they've realized that putting this roadmap out there is committing them to something, and that people are getting upset because they're seeing this roadmap as a promise of things to come. And I think that that is a fair thing to expect. I understand the rigors of game development and how things change all the time, but I think once you come out and say, this is what we're working on, I think it's fair for people to go, okay, cool, I look forward to seeing it. And then if that changes, sure, but you don't want that to change all the time. That's not really the main part of this. The main part is that they then turned and started blaming their community and said that there remains a very loud contingent of roadmap watchers who see projections as promises. And their continued noise, this is where they picked up a ruler and started pointing it at it. Their continued noise every time we shift deliverables has become a distraction, both internally at CIG and within our community, as well as to prospective Star Citizen fans watching from the sidelines at our open development communications. So they're going to stop doing this. My favorite part of that, besides the word noise, which I think is just like, it's like my grandmother wrote this press statement, is that they've gone, not only is it a distraction internally and to people who are playing the game, but it's a distraction for all the potential customers that could also be giving us our money for us to not release a product. It's not enough that we've taken $400 million from you. We want more of you to be donating money. And the fact that some fans are disappointed because there is technically not a video game here is encouraging people to not donate to that not video game. And I think it is just like, only this developer could put out this statement. Shannon
put out this statement.
Would, totally, yes. I'm sure every developer is thinking this all the time about their audience, but you never say it out loud. Shannon, I mean, have you ever played Star Citizen?
I have not, to be honest. I've obviously, followed development quite a bit over the years as they've sort of raised more money, done whatever they've done. I know gamers can be, I don't know,
shitheads,
assholes.
Like, they can say it. Yeah, exactly.
You can say it, Shannon. You can say it.
I feel like
say a naughty word. Say one naughty word.
Dick.
Just
yeah, they are dick.
No, like gamers,
not even dicks. He just said said penis. He's talking about
Singular.
dick, not the audience.
No, gamers can be outraged about the dumbest shit, and I mean the dumbest shit, like anything and everything. But I feel like this is one instance where it's justified, right? Like they've been waiting for this game that this was like crowdfunded as well, right? It wasn't just like investors putting their money in.
No, it's crowdfunded.
Yeah, it's crowdfunded. Like, okay, so it's been 12 years. Then they commit to what they're going to be working on over 6 months. And this isn't a game that was just announced a month ago. Like, this has been in active development for years and years and years. Like, to then get angry and even to go as far as say that they are turning other people off from, like, who is waking up today and suddenly becoming interested in this game? Nobody. There's not a single person out there that could be even in that box. So it's just insane. Like, it's very clear that this is a mess at this point and they're looking for someone else to blame, whoever that is. Even the people that want this game the most are apparently the worst thing for it. It's insane.
I'm surprised, I thought it was a con from the start. And I'm surprised that they're still developing anything.
Absolutely.
It's like the original NFT.
I was just going to say that. They're going to come out and announce NFTs tomorrow, aren't they?
Give us heaps of money, invest in the future of this incredible game. You're getting access to all these unique ships that you can then sell to other players down the line once this thing becomes like the biggest game in the world. And we're 12 years on and there's no one to sell your ship to.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy that I'm glad that they are finishing it because it would be obscene if they walked away from it. But it basically is like living vaporware.
Well, it's because it's just massive feature creep as well. They just keep announcing new games and new things coming to it. I love it. For podcast listeners, we're watching the footage right now. And in chat, Chumplunt, which is a great name, says, "What is this footage? Why is no one else in the room hearing those gunshots? They're all just standing still." To which I would say that AI hearing gunshots was on the roadmap, but people making too much noise about the fact that that's a 2026 feature that's going to be added. Kind of an amazing post from an amazing studio making a truly amazing video game. One day it'll come out, and
someone awesome game says you've piqued my interest in it now.
It looks decent.
Can I suggest
it does look
not
decent,
putting money into?
I'm sitting here wondering, am I interested in this now? So,
well, it presents really well. The idea of having all these unique, cool ships is sick. It's just that there's like it is the feature creep issue where there's no one complete part of it, and the things that work are fascinating and cool and are that promise of this epic space game that we've never really had realized. But it's kind of like a bunch of cool tech demos strung together that aren't really a cohesive whole. So, and I don't think ever will be.
It's safe to say nobody's rushing to acquire this development studio, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. It's amazing. I mean, how telling is that in a world where everyone is looking to buy something? And like, I've been going, God, what are all the companies going to be acquired? And CIG, absolutely not on that list at all. If you want to enjoy yourself, go to the subreddit and just check out how angry these people are, and then the people who are...
They're not angry. They're noisy.
They're noisy, sorry. It's a very noisy subreddit. All right, moving on now to announcements and delays. We got a launch date for Ghostwire Tokyo, which is coming in March, which is much sooner than I was expecting that game to be coming out. I don't know about you, Shannon, but it's launching on March 25th, 2022. Are you excited for that one?
I am. It looks really cool based on the footage that was in that weird state of play, and we got to see a little bit more behind closed doors. It looks really fantastic, and God, Feb and March are just stacked, aren't they? It's like
it's
didn't need
insane.
any more games.
Yeah, I suppose, like, I don't know why they picked March. There's reasons, obviously. Maybe it's a quarter thing, maybe whatever, but it is like, when they said it's coming out March 25th, I was like, have you like unticked the release calendar in your Google Calendar and you think nothing is coming out? Because that's the only explanation. And then something else we got confirmed. Rockstar confirmed that GTA 6 is being actively developed. In a tweet, they said, with the unprecedented longevity of GTA 5, we know many of you have been asking us about a new entry in Grand Theft Auto. With every new project we embark on, our goal is to significantly move beyond what we have previously delivered, and we are pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. We look forward to sharing more as soon as we are ready, so please stay tuned to Rockstar Newswire for official details. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you for your support. Shannon, are you excited about this?
I am very excited. I love that, yes, they tweeted it, but it was also just at the bottom of a very long blog post, as if nobody cared.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
It's like, here's the update to GTA Online.
Yeah, exactly. No, very, very excited. I hope we get to hear about it like this year. I know Rockstar tend to sort of hold announcements until like they're ready to give a release date and everything else. But I feel like this is one, and with the way the internet is now, like, I hope this is one that they sort of announce and then dropped a few trailers for and stuff over the course of 18 months to 24 months. Otherwise, I feel like we could still not be hearing about this for a few years. But yeah, it's bloody time, isn't it? Like, how many times can you re-release GTA 5 and just keep updating online? Which I actually am keen to play GTA 5 again on PS5, I must admit.
Yeah. Look, like the amount of revenue that GTA Online has generated out of GTA 5 it makes the prospect of GTA 6 very, very exciting. I don't think, like, even for GTA 5, Rockstar weren't necessarily strapped for funds. I mean, and it made like $1 billion before it came out, or whatever. It did like $500 million before it in pre-orders. So they made back like the development cost before the game launched for GTA 5. But it means that, like, going ahead, there's no reason for them to cut corners on anything. I think that I've never been disappointed by a Rockstar. Maybe GTA 4 wasn't that good.
Yeah.
But
what about the definitive edition?
Well, that was a piece of shit, but they didn't make that.
That's true.
I mean, it's only exciting things ahead, right? Like, they're such innovators in the open world idea. There's so much detail in their engines, you know. Like, the thing that I remember most about GTA 5 coming out was, like, obviously the idea of playing 3 characters and moving around the world was this really cool, innovative,
so cool
world thing. Mm-hmm. But then, like, all of the YouTube was overtaken by people just like uploading, the backfire from your car can ignite fuel that you've left on the ground. It's like the physics that they build into this thing just gives it so much character and life, and it's only going to get bigger and bolder and better going ahead. So very exciting.
The because GTA Online is such a strange beast. You can feel like it's so successful, but the few times I've played it, you look at it and you go like, God, this really was like all these parts bolted onto this old game. Like, the interface is so weird that you're still going through everything through this. Like, it really feels, it feels like a mod. Like, it really does feel like a mod. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because I cannot imagine that GTA Online for 6 is not going to be way more integrated into the main game. Like, it's real. I think they're really launching like that product. They said that they need Bungie. They said their goal is to move significantly beyond what we've previously delivered. I'm really curious to see what that is, because I think the one thing for me is that I feel like with GTA 5, I really enjoyed it, but it felt like the satire of America had hit like it was very clumsy satire for me. It was kind of like, yeah, this is just like the same thing that you keep doing over and over again. It's the same sort of like ridiculous world where the like Apple parody is this person who like wants to kill people. Like, it's just this completely over the top thing. The world has changed so much since that game came out. I don't really know what they're going to be able to satirize. I saw some, not reports, but like people saying, I would like to see a GTA set in a different country, because it's almost like you've tapped out on how much you can satirize America. And I think that while that would be really interesting, I think the bones of that series is so tied into like the American experience.
Yeah. For sure.
They may go back in time to like the 50s or something, which could be cool. But yeah, I think that they also need to think, what is the thing that's going to get people playing the online version of this game for another 10 years afterwards? So it needs to be constantly appealing. But yeah, I'm with you, Shannon. I reckon that it's coming sooner than we think, because like you didn't have to come out and confirm this. So you're probably starting your hype cycle. And then the last thing that is not coming out sooner than we think is Suicide Squad, which has been delayed until 2023, which is a big sad for Pete, Shannon, because we do a fantasy game draft every year, and Suicide Squad was Pete's third
list.
And the first delay.
Been delayed within a week of us putting that list together. It got delayed.
That's sad. Yeah. Can you substitute it, or is that just bad luck?
It is getting subbed this season. We have subs, and Oxenfree 2 is popping in. So I feel like that's probably going to be a no-brainer high score anyway. So no great loss.
Yeah, I'm sad. I was really looking forward to it. Like, I think we all kind of assumed it'd probably miss this year, to be honest. But yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Looks cool.
So we'll see what's happening. But yeah, Warner Brothers have had a few titles pushed back. They had last year they had Harry Potter, Batman, and Lego Star Wars that were all pushed. There's word that Harry Potter game is being pushed even further now. So yeah, their slate seems to be slipping out of 2022 pretty fast. But that means more to look forward to next year. And that is literally all the video game news that happened this week.